sometimes pre-built websites don't work at all. Mine doesn't. So currently I'm working with Zim Ventures to build a website that's more responsive for my business. So head over to nhbusinessshow.com/ZimVentures if you run into this issue, because sometimes the other website designers, like the pre-built ones that you just plug and play, are not what you need for your business. So if that's how you feel, head over to nhbusinessshow.com/ZimVentures to check out some other options. Hello everyone, welcome back to the Names Your Business Show. My name is Chris Pastrana, and today we are here with Dr. Erika Duffy. Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much for having me. Appreciate it.
Doing a weird accent there all of a sudden. That was weird. So let's learn a little bit about what you do, your business, and kind of go from there.
Well, I'm a hypnotherapist. I'm a core counselor, holistic counselor, Enneagram counselor, Reiki teacher. And basically I'm educating everyone who wants to change old patterns and help them become happier, help them get their goals into fruition, and basically to stop self-sabotage, because that's what we do. That's how the power of the mind works.
Yeah. So even from a very short intro, there's a lot there that I think we're going to have a good conversation on today. Mm-hmm. So let's talk about holistic counselor. Mm-hmm. So we've heard of counselors before, but how do we approach this from a holistic standpoint? Because that's interesting.
Good question. Holistic counseling is about looking at the mind, body, soul as one. So when you go into a traditional, just say, let's go for the medical field, for instance, which is definitely necessary in our society, obviously. You're looking at the physical body. And when someone comes in to see me, I'm looking at if someone needs to lose weight, for instance. Instead of working from that standpoint, from the physicalness, I'm going to help them identify what unconscious part of them put the weight on, so that, and teach them the pattern so that they can eliminate it and get the results they want permanently. That's just one aspect, but it works for everything.
Yeah. Interesting. So it's you said, more rounded approach to looking at things.
Yeah, looking at the bigger picture, not just what's in front of your face.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So how does that work with counseling? I'm just curious, like, what's big picture? Because I know very little about the field because I'm not a counselor. Mm-hmm. So what does, like, I guess you talk about a little bit with traditional with what you do, but, like, I guess how are they different?
Well, everyone that comes in to see me usually has always been through traditional therapies.
Yeah.
The difference is if they're depressed, let's just use a general term. If someone is depressed, I'm going to help that person identify what's the cause of the depression. Where did it start? Where's the source foundation? What's the role? What are the stories that they're unconsciously saying to themselves that they're unaware of? So that you can wake up, identify the story about yourself so that you can change the story. You can't change anything you're not conscious of. And if we don't change the story, we repeat the patterns over and over and over again. It can affect us physically, and it always does. It can affect us emotionally. We can get depressed. We can develop physical symptoms. We can develop diseases. We can have relationship problems, all based on unconscious stories and perceptions that we're not aware that we're telling ourselves. So we learn this from childhood experiences, from what's passed down from generation to generation. For instance, the abuse, alcoholism, it's passed down from generation to generation. Why? How? Because you're developing the same beliefs, the same attitudes, the same perceptions, and we repeat that. So I'm telling you, my goal, my passion is to educate everyone to stop the patterns of abuse, depression, anxiety disorders. Be happy. Be a happier person. That's why we're here. We have our challenges, obviously. But it's not the challenges that cause us pain. It's our perception and what it's personally doing to us that causes that emotional disorder, or emotional distress, for instance. So once we're aware, we can change it. And it's miraculously gone. I mean, physical symptoms can disappear, and often do. Depression's lifted, and we become aware of our patterns. It's really very powerful, and I suffered years and years ago with PTSD, with severe depression, with anxiety attacks, with agoraphobia. I almost needed a colostomy. I was blinded. I couldn't walk for a while. All of these, and anxiety attacks, vertigo. I mean, it was all about me recognizing my patterns. And once I understood what I was talking about unconsciously, what I was repeating, what I was saying, I realized what I was doing, and everything started to stop. I healed myself. I went off to school to get my doctoral. I've been teaching people all over the world this stuff for over 20 years. And it works very, very well.
It's pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. I like that. So, so let's get into this a little bit. Because like I said, I don't know a whole lot about the field, so it gets tricky to dive in and talk about some things because I have no idea.
You're doing a great job.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Now, you talk about self-sabotage. Now, this is an area of direct interest to me because it comes up a lot in entrepreneurs. So this is an area where definitely with my audience I want to talk about because I don't even think people realize they do it half the time. And sometimes they do realize they do it and they just do it anyway. So let's talk about what is self-sabotage and then we can kind of unpack that from there.
Well, there's lots of reasons we self-sabotage. We can be fearful of failure. We can be fearful of success. We can think we're not worthy. We can think that we're not capable. We can have a low self-worth, low self-esteem. We can stop the progress of growth because of, again, unconscious stories that we're telling ourselves. I'll give an example. My professor was talking about a person he was working with a long, long time ago. And this man was a dentist. And he was very close with his father. His father was a dentist. And and he identified, with his dad. He was best friends with his dad. When his father passed away, let me back up a little bit. He became extremely successful in his field. And his father kind of took a back seat to that success. And then his father passed away. When his father passed away, he, not realizing it unconsciously, felt bad, not just about his passing, but because he felt that he didn't want to take away that title. He, out of respect for his father, he felt he should take a back seat and not be as successful as his dad. So he wasn't aware that this is what he was doing in order to still identify with his dad. Oh, his dad is up there, and he's not, and he wasn't as successful. And then when he became more successful, he recognized what his pattern was. So once he was led to understand that his self-sabotage was about his identity with his father, he was able to let that go, knowing intuitively that his father would have wanted him to be as successful as he possibly could, out of love, not because he was in competition with him.
Yeah.
That's just a mild case.
Yeah.
So, but we can self-sabotage and, oh God, we can throw the towel and we can do whatever the heck oh boy, do we have patterns that are just unbelievable. And people can be aware of the patterns and not understand why. Why is this happening? Somebody gets divorced. They get married. The same stuff happens all over again. Over and over again. They go, I thought I already went through all this. I thought I healed this. I thought I overcame this. Not until you identify what that story is that you're telling yourself so that you can stop the way you react. I'll give you a better example. Inside the unconscious mind is an infant, a toddler, a child, an adolescent, and a teenager and young adult. Those remain in our unconscious. Those are the parts that self-sabotage, the younger developed parts from our unconscious. So you get married, you grow up, you get married, and you still have issues with dad or mom. You can project that onto your spouse.
Yeah.
And be totally unaware that you're doing this. And arguments ensue. Not understanding that it's got nothing to do with you opened the bread first. It has everything to do with what does that mean to you? What's coming up for you? And if you don't become aware of it, those patterns are repeated and nothing gets healed. We don't grow. We don't develop it into more loving relationships and be a happier person overall. So once we can identify and heal the patterns or the old perceptions from the past. Then you can see, I'm saying your spouse or whatever, differently, coming from the present. Because if we're arguing, we're coming usually from something that's being triggered, something from the past. So remember that when we overreact, we're overreacting, which means we're coming from the past to the fear of the future. If we're responding, we're coming from the present. And that's where the power is. So if and everybody listening has overreacted, everybody. And then what do? We blame the other person. This is what you did to me. No, that's what that person said, and you reacted to that, which caused you, why? Because that pattern, that feeling was already in there. And what part reacted? Not the present part, the younger, underdeveloped part. The part that felt either like a victim growing up, the part that was a martyr, learned to suffer needlessly. We learn to do that in our religions, for God's sakes. The more you suffer, the more you get in brownie points. And it's all about handling situations coming from the present so that we can feel better about ourselves and be happier all around.
Yeah. All right. So, very interesting point here. And it's a good question, I think. Finally, I figured one out. Since a lot of this stuff is in the past and it's buried pretty deep in there,
Pretty deep.
To even realize you need the help, what kind of goes into that? Because people wouldn't even know they need help with some of this stuff, but here you want to help them get through this. Like, what should the trigger point be when they're like, okay, I need to go see someone to maybe address things that are going on in the past? If that makes sense at all.
Yeah, it's a great question. It's great. First of all, it's the willingness, as someone's hearing this interview, to recognize that something in their life is not going the way they want it to go.
Mm-hmm.
And that's number one. So is the willingness to look at yourself. Second of all is to stop blaming everything and everyone outside of yourself. Start recognizing that you're doing the dance with the person. Whether it's your boss, your husband, your wife, your kid, doesn't matter. You're doing the dance. And ask yourself, all right, well, this person is obviously triggering something. I'm uncomfortable in the situation. The patterns keep on. I'm unhappy. If you're not feeling good physically, if you're not feeling good emotionally in a relationship or in anything, then you've got to take responsibility yourself to start saying, okay, what part in the play am I doing? What can I do to change? Because you can't change anyone else. You can only change yourself. So it's the willingness to realize, I'm overreacting. I don't think there's anybody out there, seriously, that doesn't absolutely flip out at times. And kind of get an inkling, maybe I overreacted. Maybe it didn't warrant that reaction. Okay, then you got to take responsibility. This happens often. This happens more than it should. And then the best thing I always tell my clients is, ask yourself, if you notice that you're overreacting to anything, ask yourself, how old am I feeling? And if you don't know, take a guess, because your guess will be correct. And you're not in the present. You're coming from the past. There's not one student or client that I've seen ever that says, I'm feeling young. I'm feeling younger. Yeah, because that emotion, that reaction to yourself, the way you see yourself in the world is how we create our reality. So if we're going to continue to see ourselves as a victim or as a means of suffering or unworthy or whatever, then you're going to make choices and decisions coming from those feelings. But if you overcome it and go, enough's enough. I don't want to be unhappy anymore. I don't want to have these same patterns happen over and over again. That's the first step, is the willingness to change. And stop blaming everything and everyone outside of yourself for your life. That's been the problem in society forever. And that's how we can change. I hope that answered your question. It's a long answer to it.
No, it's good, because none of this stuff is something that you can wrap up really quickly.
Yeah, it's really deep. It's really deep, man.
Yeah.
But it's great. It's great.
Yeah, and you said something that I thought was kind of funny when you started talking about society. Now, I was going to do it without getting into politics, because politics is its own monster.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But this is a problem, and because politics and society are, kind of inbred into us in a way that, like, you don't want to let those things go. So a lot of things I see nowadays, if a lot of people stopped, took responsibility for their actions, and then looked back on their own lives, a lot of these social issues would work themselves out. But people won't do that. And I think coming from what you were saying, a lot of these things can be approached on the personal side instead of
Yeah.
national stage, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. Anything in our reality, whether it's politics or anything, is always going to trigger us.
No.
It's always going to bring up something that there's an emotional response. We can help ourselves in the planet if we just look at, well, what's coming up for me? You know, when this person says this, so when this particular thing is being signed in, you know, what is coming up for me? What does that mean to me? And it's always about how we see ourselves in the world. Always. So when you start to say, okay, change yourself first and look at, well, how can I take this information and apply it to my own self? How can I change myself? And we have to look at the past and what we were raised as and how we were raised and who influenced us. And those belief systems are all based on how we see ourselves in the world. If we see ourselves as a victim, that we can't take care of ourselves, then you know who's going to get upset with the politicians. If we see ourselves as empowered and that we have rights and that we're all the same, we're all one, and we take and own our lives, and we're going to feel empowered and we're going to side with the other. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's always what's happening in our world is a product of our unconscious as a collective consciousness, because we're not separate. We're all one.
Yeah. Yeah, and I like to add the point in, because I think it needs to be said, and people have a hard time with this one, is that blame and responsibility are kind of different. So just because you take a responsibility for yourself and your actions and your past doesn't mean you're to blame for these things.
That's right.
So because yes, you might have had a past that's really bad, and people have probably done things to you that are really bad. So you're not to blame for any of it.
No.
But you are responsible for how you behave moving forward.
How you see yourself.
Yeah.
If something happened in the past that was awful, unacceptable, against society's, laws or what's right or wrong moral, it's not about taking blame. It's about how you see yourself because of it. And if you remain as the victim, then you're going to, as an adult, see yourself the same way and want to be taken care of, want to, what's the word I want? You want to not just be taken care of, but you might feel that you're not capable, of anything, or you might feel entitled. I had this happen, so the world owes me. And that's how we can change ourselves. Nobody owes us anything. It's not about blaming anybody. It's just about owning. How do you feel about that? How do you feel about yourself in relationship to that? And if it's not powerfully, acceptable, not good, then change it. Don't let the past dictate who you are.
Yeah.
Let it catapult you to become more.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
Cool. Awesome. Now, we've been talking about this one thing for a little while here, so I want to talk a little more about the business and some of your services, because I know the counseling is one big part of it. I think we've touched on that pretty strong for the last 20 minutes.
It's fascinating subject, though. It could take, take a long time.
Talk about this for hours. Like, I read so many books on this type of concept. Like, I'm reading one right now called 12 Rules for Life. Very similar type of engagement. So it's out there, and it is something that needs to be looked at, especially, take the responsibility to do it for yourself, you person listening, and kind of address it. Now, let's talk about some of the other things we have on here. I did want to talk about your books at some point. You have two, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we can go over that briefly after the break, and I want to talk about your other services, because we have hypnotherapy and the Reiki, and some of that stuff is kind of cool. So let's kind of address those areas real quick.
Well, hypnosis I love. Everything. It's all energy work. Um, Hypnosis is a way of accessing the unconscious and programming that unconscious to eliminate what doesn't serve you, what doesn't help you anymore.
Mhm.
And you can reprogram. Think of your mind as a computer, and that's downloaded old software. So if you want to change, it's just about, okay, well, how can I change? And then we work through the subconscious on out. Great results happen immediately. And but again, it's about the willingness to want to change. You know, somebody says, I want to stop smoking, and I go on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 meaning absolutely, oh my God, I'm going to hoe. They go, well, it's my best friend. 1, it's going to take a while. If you know, I mean, you really have to want to change. So hypnosis is great. It's accessing the subconscious. Reiki is working through energy, through the power of the energy that we all can tap into. It's not foo-foo. It's not ridiculous. It's all, I mean, I train the medical field, for heaven's sakes, you know. So it's all about accessing that energy, tapping into something that's our God-given right to tap into. And we can work on ourselves. We can help other people, and it de-stresses you. It gets rid of depression. It balances the body to bring it back to its homeostasis position. It increases energy, increases your immune system, and helps you heal faster. It's really awesome to learn, and I teach it all the time. What else?
I think those are your big services, right?
Those are the main ones that people, the core work, the hypnosis, and the Reiki is, you know, in the classes, the workshops, yeah.
Okay. Now, I saw another one on there. Was it Kirana? Reiki?
Oh, Karuna.
Karuna.
It's there's the Usui Reiki, which is the traditional.
Yeah.
And then the people say it's a different type of energy. It's faster. Some people say it's advanced. It's Karuna Reiki. And that's the Reiki energy of compassion. So that's the start of everyone's enlightenment. When we start to change, we start recognizing that we're all one. We're not separate. What we do affects someone else. What we think affects someone else. So if we can recognize that we're all one and have compassion for other people, then we'll be here, no matter what you do, to serve humanity. And you're helping yourself, but also helping others. That's Karuna Reiki. It's very, very powerful, and I love teaching both classes.
Okay. That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. So, yeah, we're hitting out at that point. So I'm going to do a quick break here from the sponsors, and we'll roll into the second half of this. So everyone hold on just a moment.
I want everyone to take a minute to check out nhbusinessshow.com/self-author. I go on to this a lot because I believe very much in self-improvement and looking at yourself through that type of mirror. So check out the program and really look at it. There's more to it than just looking at your past, though, because I know I do focus on the past portion quite a bit. It's also got the portion to look forward into yourself and to look at who you are currently, because these are also huge factors. So check out nhbusinessshow.com/self-author and check out past, present, and future authoring program, which is all in the self-authorship suite, which you can get for, I think it's $30, and you get 2 of them. So not only is it fantastic for you, it's fantastic for you and a friend if you want to give one out to someone else. So check it out. It's a fantastic program, and you're getting a huge discount on it for being part of the show. So jump on over, check it out. I would love to see everyone take full responsibility for yourselves and create the future that you want. Stop living in a life that you don't enjoy.
So let's talk about your books a little bit. Because I looked them up. I didn't really get a chance to go into them at all.
Well, I didn't personally write them. They're wonderful, individual, wonderful, positive stories that are going to inspire and help people feel better. Okay. And that's what the books are written. So I was asked to be a part of the first storybook.
Yeah.
And I thought it was going to be because of my client. Oh, I have tons of testimonials, great testimonials. No. We want your story. And it was so hard for me to write it because it was personal, and my stuff came up, of, oh my God, I'm going to get in trouble. My family's going to be mad at me. And so my husband at the time said, I said, oh my God. And he says, what are you going to do? And I realized that what was coming up for me was fear. And I said, I'm going to write the story because that's what I'm talking about. You notice what you feel.
Yeah.
And then you do the opposite. You do what love would do, not what fear would do.
Yeah.
And so the individual stories from all kinds of people. 2 of them were Deepak Chopra and Dr. Wayne Dyer, and they liked the story so much they asked me to do the second storybook.
It's really good.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty cool. Because I saw those, I just wanted to touch on briefly because
Mm-hmm.
I love books.
Oh, I know. Yeah. They're phenomenal. And yeah, I hope this is not too deep for people. I don't think it is, though.
Yeah, I try to keep it light. I had a couple questions. I'm like, I don't know if I want to go there with this one.
What kind of questions? Because you probably do want to go.
Yeah, so, okay. I like looking at things kind of from like a balance standpoint. So I was curious because I hear a lot about, Reiki and all of, and then just the way you explain, was it Karuna, Reiki. I'm like, well, where's the opposite of it? Because
It's the opposite.
well, I mean, it sounds like you were talking like compassion and stuff like that, but there's clearly other things out there that are the opposite of that. You got violence and war and all these other things, and so how do these things like balance each other out? If that makes sense.
It does, and because we live in a polarity. We live in a duality, rather.
Yeah.
World. There's good and bad happening simultaneously. So you balance it out by recognizing that everyone is on their own personal journey, and we can't take on. We can only work on ourselves. By working on yourself, you help everyone else because it's a collective thing. So there's always going to be violence. There's always going to be people that are dark and that are trying to knock you off your path. There'll always be that. But the better you feel about yourself, the more you'll change, the more you'll feel empowered, the more you'll feel like the victor instead of the victim, and the happier you'll be. That makes sense?
Yeah. Because I said I was a soldier, so I've seen
you've
every
seen
end.
some awful things.
So I've seen every end of it, and
yeah,
so
and you're right.
Kind of curious.
There's awful stuff out there, absolutely. And thank you for your service, by the way. But no, it's true. But we live in a duality world.
Yeah.
It's never going to be 100% peaceful. It's never going to be someone's going to agree with you to make it peaceful. Everyone has free will. Everyone has that choice. But everyone's on their own journey and everyone has their own karma. So, I'd love to be able to say, oh, I can wave a magic wand and make it all. All you can do is just help people work on themselves.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess that answers it. And I was looking at it from a different angle. But yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
That was pretty much it.
I hope that explains, it's.
No, it does.
It's really not about, we're all one and forgive and forget and have compassion. It's about, what I need to work on my own emotion. I need to honor my negative emotions, and I need to decide, do I want to keep them because they're hurting me? Or do I want to work through them, honor them, and let them go so that I can be a happier person?
Yeah.
That's what it's really all about.
Yeah. Because, again, as on the entrepreneur side of things, we're talking about self-sabotage and things that come up a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And especially in mainstream entrepreneurship, which is kind of weird to call it that, but there's very, everyone needs to be positive and kind of approach. But in reality, those aren't just the only emotions.
It's called denial.
Yeah, those aren't the only things, people feel.
Mm-hmm.
So I like just addressing that kind of like we talked about earlier, there's blame and responsibility. So, be responsible for your actions, but, you don't have to blame yourself for them as well. And just admitting that, yeah, we have bad days and we're going to feel bad some days and you're going to be cranky and angry.
Yep.
But then moving forward and addressing them is important.
We all have cranky days. And that's life, but if it happens too frequent and it's affecting your life, your health, your relationships, then it's up to that person to decide whether or not they want to find out why and change themselves.
Yeah.
That's really what it's about. It's not about, la la la, la la world, and it's really all about just recognizing what doesn't help you anymore.
Yeah.
So
and addressing it before it gets too bad.
until you get the wake up call. And that's a really good question to ask.
Yeah, because
That wake up call will knock you right off your.
yeah.
Mhm.
Or if you don't get the wake up call, like if you look at anything going on in politics now, there's a lot of instances very recently of people doing incredibly bad things, killing a lot of people, and those are people who've probably gone through this to the extreme and never addressed it, and then they're on the other end of a gun killing people. Or
That's what we need to
going
focus
further
our
and further.
attention on, though.
Yeah.
Is the why, not the fact they have guns, but it's the why.
Yeah.
Why is this happening?
Yeah, because there's a long road there of things
Of
that
patterns.
Yeah.
Patterns.
Yeah.
Yes. It's not the first time they showed sign. And everyone will have a wake up call.
Yeah.
Everyone, if they don't change, everyone will. Whether it's a loss of job, a death, a disease, or a divorce. And the law, whether even if it's a little cold, it's still something. Okay, I'm stressed out. Why am I stressed?
Yeah.
I lowered my immune system. How did I do that?
Yeah. Oh, so that's super funny. I have shingles that I break out in my forehead every once in a while. So it's super funny because you mentioned that. I'll be sitting there and I'll be like, oh no, here we go. And then I have to look back and examine what I've been doing for the last couple of months and be like, okay, why am I so stressed out? Because that's when it happens. I'll be stressed for a period of time.
Yep.
And all of a sudden, I get this huge breakout.
And that's your little mini wake up call.
Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about. It's just, okay, well, what's causing the stress?
Yeah.
How am I reacting to what's going on?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of funny.
It's fascinating, I'll tell you.
Yeah.
It's amazing what we find out. And
Yeah.
it's all good because, it's not about judging it. It's about, okay, this is what I did. I learned to do this years ago. I learned to react this way. It helped me when I was a kid. But right now, it's not helping me.
Yeah.
So let's change it.
Yeah.
So, and believe me, it's really good to do that because you want to be happier.
Yeah. Okay. So people that want to get a hold of you, want to reach out, take some of your services, some of your classes, how do they do that?
Well, they can give me a call. They can go, my phone number is 603-566-7458, or they can go onto my website, Erika with a K, Duffy.com.
Okay. Awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you so much for joining me. I had a lot of fun today. This was a great conversation.
It was my pleasure. Anytime.
Okay, so everyone, thank you so much for listening, and we're going to roll out with the last word from our sponsors. And everyone, have a good day.
Great day.
If you want to lose weight, head over to nhbusinessshow.com/ideal to get started with Ideal Health today. It's a fantastic program, and you're going to lose a lot of weight.